Yeah, that's right.
There's a
That's a
secret
good-
they're not telling us here. Oh, wow. Yeah, but that's
That's
really
like
cool. That's really cool.
that's like this shirt I've had since high school, and it's got holes and shit in it. And my wife keeps trying to make me throw it out, but I'm like, no, I'm drawing the line. When I can't wear it anymore, that's when I'll throw it out.
Maddie, are you like the
So-
guy who wears underpants until they like dissolve off his body?
yeah,
It's got a few holes, but it's still stretchy.
I don't know what it is, man. I don't like throwing away clothes.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not a hoarder with anything else. I just for clothes for some reason. So it's like every
It's just
shirt has a
broken in.
story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's comfy. It's broken in. It may not have any labels or even a logo on it anymore, but it still feels good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
All right, what else you
all
got?
right. Okay, next article from me. Florida woman allegedly beats farting father. So,
Okay.
police in Florida caught wind of a woman who was fed up with her father's flatulence. Nicole Dozoy, 40, who lived with her 59-year-old dad in Largo near Tampa Bay, was arrested for allegedly battering him because of his smelly emissions. Police allege Dozoy punched her father in the face numerous times, and officers found him with a black eye and scratches all over his neck. Dozoy has been released with bail and pleaded not guilty to the misdemeanor charge of domestic battery. She's been ordered by a judge to keep away from her father. This isn't Dozoy's first brush with the law. She was arrested in 2018 for allegedly hitting her sister, though she wasn't charged, allegedly for the same offense.
Wow, she's definitely got a problem with flatulence. Just imagine if you like release this woman into like a burrito eating contest. Right? Oh boy. Oh boy.
Would that count as a COVID casualty if she killed them? Is that because they're forced to spend more time with each other than they were prepared for?
That might be it.
Yeah, I would think so. That's maybe she just got tired of just being around people. I don't know. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a problem, man.
I've got one, and honestly, man, there is a. Have you ever watched those, like council meetings that happen in cities? Have you ever actually watched one of those? I used to work for a city at one point. And
yes, this is awesome.
this
Yes,
is
tell this story.
honestly the funniest thing I have seen, and at the point where I was almost laughing so hard because this person wasted so much of city time. But the article reads, Nebraska man asked city council to rename boneless chicken wings.
Yep.
So,
What?
bear with me on this one. And there is a video out there, folks, that you can watch that is a Lincoln City Council meeting from August 31st, 2020. So, a Nebraska man's plea to the Lincoln City Council is going viral after he passionately laid out his case for the city's restaurants and stores to stop claiming chicken tenders or boneless chicken wings. Anderson Christensen, 27, whose father, Roy Christensen, is a Lincoln City councilman, appeared before the governing body at a public meeting and encouraged the city to be a social leader in this country. We've been casually ignoring a problem that has gotten so out of control that our children are throwing around names and words without even understanding the true meaning, treating things as though they are normal, he says. I go into nice family restaurants and see people throwing this name around and pretending that everything is just fine. I'm talking about boneless chicken wings. Now, at this point, he had to wait for several minutes for the laughter in the court to subside, and to which he was genuinely upset that people are laughing. He's like, I'm serious. He basically, his case was that boneless chicken wings aren't actually composed of meat that comes from a wing of the bird. It's often made from chicken breast. So he says, we'd be disgusted if we went to a butcher that mislabeled their cuts of meats and then we go around pretending as though the breast of a chicken is its wing. This is ridiculous. He's like, it's not actually making our children any more intelligent. And all I could think of is that Simpson moment where the church wife was like, "Oh, well, think of the children." But then he goes on to say, we can call them buffalo style chicken tenders. He says we can call them wet tenders. We can call them saucy nugs or trash. The last one was like, where the fuck are you coming up with that one? Like, is it just that you hate this name or that you came up with like some somewhat legitimate names for that? Like, what the hell would be a wet tender?
Dude, his argument was like there was so much conviction in his argument.
Yeah.
And he had some good ones there, like because I watched it too.
Yeah.
And like what did he say? He's like I think it's safe to say that we're just gonna like why do we have to even put boneless in the name? Like, I don't go and ask for boneless chicken tacos. Or,
Yeah,
you know what I
that's
mean?
right. I don't ask for a boneless auto mechanic or something, or an auto repair. I was like, what the fuck? So the funny thing is, you look at this guy, and clearly he looks like a guy who's probably been living in his parents' basement for some time, but he's dressed up really nice and trying to look quite legitimate. I think the funny thing at the end is that his father pulls down his COVID mask and says, yeah, that's my son, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know if it was a mix of pride or shame when he says it. You know, so
I think it was both. It was that. Yeah, it was good, man.
It's good. You got to see the video. It's so funny.
Man, I don't know. I can't remember how city council stuff works. It sounds like a filibuster. Like it sounds like there was some other thing about to be tabled that was really important, and so they, like Patton Oswalt going off about, you know, comic book stuff or Star Trek stuff, they could just go, okay, we'll get him to talk aimlessly about something that nobody could possibly care about for so long that other thing doesn't get a chance to be tabled.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Boy.
You guys ever watch Parks and Rec?
No, I've never seen it.
No.
Yeah. Every time I hear the word filibuster, it reminds me when Leslie filibustered her own meeting. Do you remember that episode? Oh, Tony, if you haven't watched that show,
I'm gonna have to
really
check it
good.
out. Yeah, for sure. Oh my goodness. All right, Shaun, let's talk about Wide Mouth Mason. But actually, if anything, maybe we should start off by let's talk about the fact that you guys have basically come up with the new vinyl issue of your albums too.
Yeah, and there's some council person will be angry that there's not actually stew in it or songs about the actual concoction of stew. But yeah, to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of the record Stew that we made, that has some songs that have become some of our best known, like Smile and Change and Ease Your Mind and a few others. We wanted to reissue it on vinyl, which is kind of a full circle thing. The record was born from us and Gordy Johnson from Big Sugar, who produced it, sitting around listening to vinyl records when we were kind of figuring out what the album was going to sound and feel like. And we knew the songs that we were writing were going down a much more R&B and funk style than our first couple of records, which were more sort of blues rock and jam bandy. Mm-hmm. And we listened to a bunch of records by like the Meters and the Gap Band and the Isley Brothers and Sly and the Family Stone, and really tried to make sure that we were paying homage and learning about the way that instrumentation worked together on those kinds of records. If we were going to make our Stevie Wonderous record, what's the function of all the different parts while those songs are happening? So yeah, man, revisiting it on vinyl with a lathe cut 7-inch of an unreleased track called Who You Get Your Love From that comes along with it has been some fun time travel. It's been a good way to go back and re-experience it.
Now, I have to say for all our listeners out there, if you have not listened to this album, it is absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. At least the original album was amazing. So I'm actually kind of excited to hear this. It was, some, as you had mentioned, some amazing, songs that had not only kind of broke ground for you guys, but, went gold. So, they are super, super fun, beautiful songs. It actually really, before you came on, I was kind of taking a trip down memory lane, as you said, and listening to a lot of your older songs and just remembering, it was like truly a blast from the past. I kind of remembered where I was when these songs came out and how awesome your albums really were. So it was really good. It gave me a whole new appreciation for a lot of your songs that I haven't heard in quite some time.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, when you go back into the prior millennium, the prior century, It's funny how different things were in that, people might know us from, like you had alluded to, Big Shiny Tunes or to, videos on Much Music. We tended to all gather around the same, just a couple fires before to warm ourselves, where now everyone has, their own portable history of everything in their pockets that they can curate however they choose to. But yeah, it's been a fun ride to be part of the industry as it changed from old school 20th century, shipping records to physical places where people buy them, to whatever it is today. And then especially through the gauze of a worldwide pandemic that's put the brakes on everything. There's a lot of road behind us, and we've seen a lot of different music businesses in our time in the music business, for sure.
Definitely.
Well, because you brought it up, one of my questions specifically for you was, so when I was a kid, my mom had to buy me, and it's 2 copies of Big Shiny Tunes 2 because I just wore it out. Like I wore the first one out.
It was a fantastic album. Yeah.
So I have to ask, was that just like me and my friends all listened to that to the point where it was wearing out? Was it like an honor at that time to kind of be on that who's who list, on that kind of album, or was it just like, why not? We'll just jump on it and see what happens? Like.
It was. We were happy to be involved. It was only the second one, so it wasn't like it was an institution at that point. That we were like, oh, we've been included on this thing that we grew up knowing about. It was pretty new to us, but it seemed to. We were on Edge Fest, the traveling festival around that time, and it was a bunch of the same bands that we were playing with at Edge Fest. That were also cool. On Big Shiny Tunes too. So to us, it just kind of folded into being part of that same summer, that, we're around, whatever, Big Wreck and Silverchair and Hole, and we're touring with these bands all summer. So of course we would all be on a compilation record at the same time. We had no idea that, I'm sitting a few feet away from a diamond record plaque for it, that it would go on to sell 1 million copies, and it would be, part of the landscape of Canadian music history, that it would be this thing, particularly the second edition that seemed to really catch on and engage with people. But at the time, it was just kind of another, hey, they want to know if they can include a track on this compilation thing, and it's a bunch of bands that you're with. And we just said, as part of a bigger picture. But now looking back, it is a lot of times when people go, Wyatt Mouse Mason, oh yeah, it's either I saw you open for the Stones, or I saw you on breakfast television, which apparently everybody everywhere watches, or I had Big Shiny Tunes and you were on it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you did, because to be honest, like that's where I first heard you guys on that, and then that kind of led me into your other stuff. So I think it's a good thing that you did it. Not necessarily your defining moment, because your other stuff's amazing, but I definitely happy that you guys decided to do that, because that's how I got on you guys.
And it works. I grew up, Columbia Record Club.
Yes.
A lot of those compilation records, I think they'd call it like gold and platinum, and you wouldn't really know what was on it even. It would just be like, oh, I'm sure there's a bunch of songs on there, and it was like an early edition of a mixtape or something. I like those. Yep. That's what a festival is, it's a mix of different artists all together, and yeah, definitely people who came for one thing might leave with an appreciation of another thing. So that's cool with me.
For sure. Now, I guess, just reflecting on Matt's question, I mean, it's hard to say, obviously, when that happened, because essentially you're like a pioneer of the Big Shiny Tunes series. Like you said, there was only one album before, and if anything, I believe number 2 ended up selling a lot more copies than the first one did. And, and I don't even remember what number they went to the last time I had checked, but, I know the numbers were getting up into the double digits. And, really it was because of the first 2 albums, obviously grabbing people so well that they continued on. So when you go back and you look at it at the time, you're like, yeah, okay, throw us on an album. That's cool. Great, good song to put on there. But